right, boys. Welcome to episode 10 of the Flag Stays Down podcast. The 10's a nice round number. So congratulations to you guys on making it 70 days of doing this podcast.
Jesus Christ. How the hell did we last this long?
We'll be looking back 2 years from now and being like, yeah, 10 wasn't that much. All right. Anywho, on this Sunday, how are you guys doing? How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. I got to visit some family back home in Minnesota, drinking some bourbon. So I'm a happy camper. How about you, Matthew?
Doing good. My fiance had one of her friends in town, so we were kind of hitting up the brunch scene. We did a little bit of day drinking, and then I went and shot 18 holes today. So that was a good morning. And then the honeydew list kicked in, so I was doing some hanging of Christmas lights and helping the missus cook some food for the week.
Solid. Well, welcome to adulthood.
What about you, Collins?
But last week was, as I'm sure you guys and dear listeners could tell, I was feeling a little good last weekend. It was Halloween weekend. Felt like a party. This weekend I had a calculus midterm. I had to winterize our yard, and the Packers looked like heck. So, this is the highlight of my weekend, as always.
Well, you got to start somewhere, right?
Right. And you know where I'm starting is Pie in the Face cherry cheesecake sour ale from Hoosier Brewing. How about you guys?
Yeah, I'm rocking the tradition of Iowa whiskeys with the number 9 reserve. So I had about half a bottle at the start of the night, and I'm on my third glass right now, and it might be done by the end of this pod. So here we are.
Amen to that. I'm having some of my Noble Oak. It's usually my go-to. So I picked up some of that, and tastes great. Can't argue with it. And here with the boys, so it's definitely a good night.
Cheers.
All right, so let's just do a real quick recap on this week's matches. Tuesday, we had Malmo away in the Champions League, 1-0 victory, courtesy of a 56-minute goal by Hakim Ziyech, my guy, assisted by Matt's guy, Callum Hudson-Odoi. And then Saturday, again, we score 1 goal, but we also concede a goal, our first conceded goal in open play of the season. And yes, it is November. Kai Havertz opens the scoring in the 33rd, heading home a delicious ball by Reece James. Holy cow, was that something. And then in the 79th, oh man, I struggle with this name every single time. Vidra, Hydra, Captain America, assisted by Jay Rodriguez. And that was about it. 1-1, disappointing. So there were some things this week that I felt like were kind of summed up in both matches. A lot of common themes. And one of them I just want to get off my chest right away here, and that's Kai Havertz. Paid a big transfer sum for him. Very clearly a star of a farmer league in the Bundesliga. It wasn't worth it. I think he's a bust. This is supposed to be his best position. Granted, he is not an out-and-out striker. He's not a winger. He's maybe a 10, but even he doesn't know. I don't think that he's worth the price tag we paid for him. I look at him in a similar capacity as to how Real Madrid looks at Eden Hazard right now. Bust. Parker, you're shaking your head. What?
I am because Kai Havertz is stepping in right now in a situation where we need him, where our 2 strikers are out hurt. And so it's tough to compare him to a Real Madrid situation with Eden Hazard, who hasn't gotten on the pitch much because he's been injured most of the time. Kai Havertz has been our guy who's been able to step into the situation. Granted, he is not our best striker, And to you, Collins, I don't know what his best position is. I really don't. I would love to see him in a 10 position. And but when we have three guys up front, I think maybe like a left winger would maybe suit him better, right, left or right winger. But I saw him tracking back, and he scored our goal. Like, he has gotten on the score sheet now in the last couple of weeks. I've said his name in the last pod. I said he had a good week where he got on the score sheet once, and then he created a penalty that was converted by Jorginho. So in my eyes, it's just as good as a goal when you take the goalie on one and juke him and win a penalty there. So I've said Kai Havertz's name a lot the last couple of weeks, and he is not my favorite player. I'm not going to be sitting here saying he is the reincarnation of Didier Drogba, but I think he is suitable in the situation. And when we have two of our biggest players down, he is someone who's been able to come into our situation and suitably fit our squad and still get on the score sheet. And you can't really deny getting on the score sheet. You either score or you don't. And he has scored now past couple matches. So I've been happy with his performance.
He's tolerable. I think that's kind of the best way to phrase it. He's in a position which, again, he's not an out-and-out striker. He's not a Rom. I mean, you can argue that Timo is not an out-and-out striker, but he's not one of those two. Like, he is not somebody that you would build a team around if you're going to rely on him for goals. He's just not. I think he would suit well in like a false nine type position, more of a distributor. But like I've said before, he's kind of playing like that Olivier Giroud type role. He's just kind of a big body up top. My biggest problem with him is his first touch. It is tragic. Absolutely tragic. Like, anytime the ball comes to him, it's always 5 feet past where he wants to go, and then he's just getting off the ball. I think the other thing is he needs to toughen up. He's falling into, and Collins, we will get to this in probably at the end of the pod. He's getting into that Jorginho expecting a foul every time he's in trouble type thing. I don't like it. He's 6'4". Like, you're going up against center backs that are about the same size. Like, go do something. Be physical. And I think as we talk about the Burnley match, I'll touch on that more, but he needs to be more physical up there. We had Rom up top. He's a physical presence. We all know that. Kai's trying to fill that role. I think for the time being, he's doing a serviceable job. But at the end of the day, this isn't the Bundesliga. Like, you got to throw on your big boy pants and be ready to go up against these center backs that are big bruising center backs, especially when you look at teams that are probably mid to low table teams. They have some physical people back there. You got to be able to handle all that stuff.
To be fair, Matt, I don't think he's trying to replace Rom. I don't think he's trying to serve the same exact role as Rom, because I don't think he is that big, bruising, physical kind of striker. Where I've seen him like have a lot of success is when he tries to get behind, and some of the creative runs that he makes. Where he lacks is some of that like killer instinct finishing. The finish that you didn't expect to see, and you're like, ho, like, you know what I mean? Like that deft touch, just kind of you don't really understand what he was thinking, but he was thinking it the whole time, kind of a finish. I think Kai lacks that just a little bit, but I think he's getting himself in the right positions enough times where I'm confident he's going to figure that last part out. But I don't think he's trying to be exactly what Rom was. I think he needs to toughen up still, because I think that's one of his lacking parts of his game. But I see him getting in good positions, and when you don't have a ton of like true metrics to judge players by in soccer, where it's not just like yards in football or assists and points in basketball, you got to kind of just do it by feel a little bit more. And I feel like he's getting into the right spots. I feel like he's doing some of the right things, and maybe lacks that like last year, but still young, still figuring it out. And I like what he's doing. I generally pleased, not perfect, but generally pleased with him.
Here's my issue with him. That had we only paid, Hakim Ziyech money for him, his performances are fine. We paid quite a hefty price for him, for a guy who in his last 2 years in the Bundesliga, 62 matches, scored 29 goals, 9 assists. That's a contribution one side of every 2 games, roughly. At Chelsea, in his last 2 seasons here, he has 6 goals, 3 assists in about 30 matches. You look even further into some of the deeper metrics here. His key passes in Germany, he was averaging about 2.5 a game. Here, you just look at this season alone, he's at 0.2. Dribbles are down, shots per game are down. I agree with you, Parker. He has a knack for getting into spaces. But what I see is that he's not finishing those runs into space. It's like he's real quick off the line, and then the rest of the pack catches up with him, or he thinks the ball is going too far and he's not going to get to it. I see a lot of times that ball go out of bounds for a goal kick, either going over the top or put into space. But when he does get onto the end of it, he's kind of a one-trick pony. What if I pose this question to you, and Parker, just because you're on my screen right now, you get the question. Havertz, 1-on-1 with the keeper. What's he doing?
He is chipping far.
Bingo. Predictable. Nick Pope saved it easily. I think I can't remember. Darling for Malmo. I'm pretty sure he nicked one off of Havertz too, midweek. If you're going to play in that 9, if you're going to play as a 10, or off to either side, you need a little bit more creativity. We are certainly not professional soccer players. We are not scouts. We are not even real journalists.
How dare you?
Okay, Matt. We don't know about Matt. Matt's a little shady, but come on. We know exactly what Kai Havertz is doing as soon as he touches the ball. I know he's young. We overpaid. I'm ready to ship him out if we can get somebody a little bit more clinical.
I don't think he's ready to be shipped out yet. And Collins, I'm going to throw this back at you. Your boy, Hakim Ziyech, you have been on him to just send him. But at the same time, even during this pod, you're like, yeah, well, he's been doing all right for his price tag.
Yeah,
I would highly argue that for Ziyech price tag and what we're getting out of him, I would argue that we're probably getting more out of Kai than we are Hakim Ziyech.
With the different price tags.
Well, I'm
the value per dollar, or what you're getting per dollar, you're saying
yes
is better out of Kai.
Yes.
No. Hakim Ziyech is, at least the last 2 weeks, has been our most dangerous player. Regardless of whether he is connecting, he scored a goal in midweek, but he's creating the most attacking opportunities out of anyone in the squad the last couple of weeks. So in recent form, I disagree with you there. But yeah,
are we talking recent form or overall?
Well, with Havertz,
that's going to be a big difference.
With Havertz, I'll say overall. Granted, he scored in the Champions League final, so he paid for his transfer fee. But
and now he's number one on the team sheet. Granted, it's due to injury, but
it absolutely is due to injury.
But he has what's Ziyech's excuse? Why is he sometimes out of the squad?
Ziyech's 28. So you know exactly. So
I'm
you know
just saying.
So you know exactly what you're getting when you're putting him out there. There's no room to improve for Ziyech, unfortunately.
You're getting an Iron Robin.
Yeah, he's the African.
That's what
Iron
you're getting.
Robin.
You're getting a left-footed wonder at best.
Yeah, right. And you paid. Granted, we are not like Leeds, where $35 million is crazy money,
right?
But comparatively, compared to the rest of the squad, Ziyech was bargain bin shopping. So
I'm seeing, just quickly for listeners, I'm seeing a fee of like 40 million euros for Ziyech. And the first thing that comes up on Havertz is in pounds. So sorry for the conversion, but it's around a 72 million pound fee for Havertz. Is that sounding right?
Yeah.
Just so people have some context of, it's not quite twice as much for Havertz, but it's kind of close. So continue.
But there you go. Twice as much, but you're getting the same production. So if we're gonna say, yeah, get Ziyech out of here, yeah, I mean, then Kai's a bust, because Kai's giving you the exact same thing, if not less. That's my point.
I don't want to derail this whole thing. So, Collins, because I could throw out, well, what about Christian? As much as we love Christian.
Well, there is a sizable part of the fan base who want him out because he's never healthy.
That's what I'm saying, is like somebody who's not healthy, but we paid a very large price tag for. So
it's fair.
Just saying, just throwing that out there, but I don't want to get us sidetracked.
If I were to pick one today, I would pick Kai Havertz to be in the squad, because he can serve a different role, and we are very, very lacking in striker options on our team. And even in a highly rotatable squad, we would need a striker person to kind of come through and rotate through. So I think Kai Havertz would still be getting minutes, even if Ram and Timo were both fully fit. And so I still think there's a place in the squad when both of them come back. I don't know exactly what that is. We talked about that earlier, but I think he can at least provide a different look when needed, if we need to rotate some players around. He provides a little bit more dynamic presence than a Hakim Ziyech. Granted, we paid more for him, but today, if I had to sell one, I would sell Hakim.
Well, Parker, you touched on it just a little bit there, and I think it's a good transition. But after the international break, Timo Werner is supposed to come back healthy. Ram, I hear rumors that he should be coming back after the break, but nothing confirmed. Pulisic, God forbid any injury in CONCACAF after getting called up by Berhalter. Knocking on wood right now. I don't want any part of it. But let's say all of your attackers come back healthy, ready to go. And we got a tough part of the schedule coming up. Leicester, well, Man U isn't that tough, but we got them. And Juve. Who are you putting in your attack? Who's on your team sheets? I know, Parker, you typically like to go with the two strikers up top. Tuchel does switch between the three at the top and two at the top. Who are you guys putting in attack? Parker, why don't you start?
Yeah, I think we do really well in the 3-5-2 lineup. I don't know if it's our best. I had to kind of switch to it just when Lukaku went out. You have to be a little bit more creative with lineup options. I think when he's fit, we might be better in with three attackers across the back or across the front, excuse me. But yeah, Timo's an interesting one, man. We've praised him in the early season, and then he gets hurt, and then he kind of gets forgotten about a little bit. So he's a tough one to peg, and he's got work rate, but he doesn't have all of the technical ability, and he lacks a little bit of that final touch that we touched on. I think we have droves of attacking capability. So if I'm honest, I don't think he makes our best 11. I'd probably play Christian Pulisic on the left wing. I'd probably play like a Mason Mount on the right wing, and then Rom as our striker. I think that lineup healthy with some like time to gel is probably our best look with all three players. So that's how I would line them up, man. But it's a tricky one. I think Timo still sees a lot of time in the league when he comes back. I think he still provides a spark, and if we need to go two up front, I think that dude will run for days, and he'll try to get behind, and he looks for the pass, which I really like. I think he likes to link up with Rom as well. So that's kind of where I see Timo fitting in, is not necessarily the best 11, but like the next wave right below it.
Yeah, I think, with everybody healthy, I mean, we saw the impact that Timo had when he was starting to come into his own, especially with Rom around. We started to see that a lot. Timo wasn't meant to be the goal scorer. He was almost meant to be like the setup man, or kind of like the decoy that defenses would have to defend against, and then that would free up Rom. I think if you're sticking with your three up top, like we have been, I think you run Rom, Timo on the left, Christian on the right. Now it becomes where you get Mason Mount in. Honestly, the thing that I will say is, with the schedule that we have, that position between Mount and Pulisic is very interchangeable. It's something you could change after the 60th minute. If something's not working, you can give somebody a lot of time. You could throw Mount in there. You can throw Ziyech. Like you can throw anybody. You could throw Kai. Like, you could throw anybody out there. You could throw Cho. Like we have so many options. But I think if you're putting out your best 11, I think it has to be Rom, Timo, and then Pulisic or Mount. Yeah, I think the two of them are pretty interchangeable. So it's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, Matt, I definitely agree. You've got a busy schedule coming up. It's going to be hectic. There's going to be squad rotation. But best 11, Rom. I can't see. I can't wait to see. It seems like the offense has started to click. I can't wait to see inserting Rom into that. I think he's going to refine that scoring touch. But him, Timo on the left, for me, Mount on the right. I know we just talked about paying high transfer fees. Pulisic was certainly one of them. I do like Pulisic coming off the bench, especially the last couple matches. I know he hasn't been fully fit to go the full 90, but coming on late and just running at tired legs. Christian's looked dangerous in the 20 minutes that he played in two matches. He's all over the pitch and it looks great. So as much as I love Captain America, as much as I want a U.S. star to start for one of the biggest clubs in the world, the European champions, Mason Mount is the heart and soul of this team, and he needs to start in that right wing, right forward, whatever you call it. But definitely Timo, Rom, and then Mace as your facilitator. But Matt, you did bring up Cho, Callum Hudson-Odoi, and he's made an interesting case for himself. Certainly not to Gareth Southgate getting snubbed on the England call up, but he's gonna play for Ghana next year.
Oh, you got jokes. You're the only one that can actually pull off a dad joke.
I'm buying that jersey. You heard it here first. And when I can buy that jersey, I'm buying that jersey.
Oh, for sure.
The home or the away?
Yes.
So Callum Hudson-Odoi has played just about every match since Timo and Rom have gone out. He's looked good. He's certainly not playing in that right wing back position. I believe he did for one match. But primarily it's been on that left wing. Last week we talked about, or at least my point was that he wasn't running at defenders enough. He has, to a general degree, attack defenders. He has looked dangerous. He scored a couple goals, assisted a couple. Has Cho made a case for being a part of that week in, week out rotation?
I personally think that he has. I think he's doing enough. I think what gets overlooked with him is the fact that he's able to track back and defend. I mean, yeah, Timo's gonna run back and do whatever. We know his work rate. But when push comes to shove, is Timo actually going to be able to defend anybody? Probably not. I think right now Cho makes a better case, just because he's coming into his own. Like it's been talked about, like he's basically like the utility man, right? He doesn't, like, you can throw him wherever you want to, but it's been known that that left wing or left midfield or whatever, that's been his most favorable position. And I think now that he's out there more consistently, you see the confidence growing. You see the partnership that he has with Chills. You see the partnership that he's starting to have with Havertz and, with everybody in the midfield. I think that it's working well for everybody, especially on the left-hand side of the pitch. My biggest concern is the right-hand side of the pitch, but that's a different story. I think Cho has made himself a good case after Timo to be that second half sub over Kai.
I think that's fair. It's always kind of funny for me to see, like, on paper where people line up, because it's not always where I see them playing in the actual match. And so, like, if you go to Who Scored and they have it in there, and for the Burnley match they have Hudson-Odoi as like a right striker in a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-1-2 technically, but and so Hudson-Odoi has to be like the most versatile person on our team. Like him and Reece James are some of the most interchangeable pieces that you can put on damn near almost anywhere on the pitch, and they're going to have a relative amount of success. So just for that, I feel like that aspect of his game gets super overlooked, and I think we talk about it a decent amount, but it's something that I don't hear a ton of people talking about. And so that, combined with happy birthday, Callum Hudson-Odoi. It's his 21st birthday today, and he is just 21 years old. I know he got snubbed for the England call-ups. I don't necessarily consider that a bad thing, considering how we feel about players like Christian Pulisic. It's like, don't call him up, let him train with the team, kind of a thought process. So I love his involvement. I think he's been really sharp, and this feels like his tryout, and it feels like his like, look at my work resume, like look at the past couple of matches, kind of a feel, like plea to Tuchel, like this is what I can do, man. And I get it that when we're a full healthy squad, maybe I don't get as many opportunities, but this is what I can do week in and week out. So one thing I did want to bring up to you guys though, just really quick question. He did snub the under 21s on that call up, and that's gotten some mixed messages in the media. Personally, I don't mind that, but does that bother either of you on kind of like the type of person we're dealing with here?
I think the English media blows everything out of proportion, and that's primarily where we see the news for Chelsea is the Guardian, Football UK,
The Sun.
Yeah, the Sun, yeah, got it.
The Sun, the Mirror,
yeah. But the English national team is cultish, you could say. It's got a crazy following. You see all the statistics of when England lose, you see a crazy amount of domestic assaults happen in England and all that. So I don't put much stock into what the media says about Cho snubbing the U21s. Dude, if he doesn't want to play for the non-senior side after playing for the senior side early in the year. Dude, whatever. He's clearly performing for the club and on the pitch.
The only thing I was going to bring up is that Southgate did make comments about it directly. Like Southgate was not happy about it. He thought that he could make a bigger impact or a bigger case for him being on a senior team, playing with the youth team, than he could be playing with Chelsea. Really, the only reason why I wanted to bring it up, because he had direct comments about it.
Well, that's what the color commentator, I forgot who did it for NBC Sports, might have been BT Sport this week, but said that Cho was hurting himself because now going forward, if it's between him and somebody who did play for the U21s, Southgate's going to turn to the guy that they have data on, that they have match tape from, even though we're in 2022 and you can watch any match anywhere in the world at any time pretty much for free. Like, you know, use all those P2P services. But it sounds like Cho doesn't want to be there. Unless he's in the first team, he doesn't want to be there. And that's perfectly his decision. We see this all the time with the U.S. national team. How many dual nationals do we see? Serginho Dest snubbed Netherlands to play here. Countless players. I can't think of his name. Was the next big thing coming in through the U.S. youth system, and last second he decided to play for Mexico. It happens. It's wherever you think either you're going to get the best opportunity to play internationally, or where you feel the most comfortable. And if he feels the most comfortable not playing for England, playing for Ghana is the rumor, then go.
Who are the left midfielders or left wings that England is calling to like who are they calling up? Rashford, who has been damn near irrelevant. Hopefully not Jadon Sancho. I don't even know if he's played. What options do they realistically have? Jesse Lingard? What are you throwing out there that Cho is being snubbed that badly? To me, it's almost mind-boggling that all right, let's be honest. Gareth Southgate, suspect at best. I mean, he still has Harry Maguire on his back line, so kind of loses a little bit of credibility there. But who else is he honestly calling up that is outperforming Cho over the last month?
Here are the forwards that he called up. Raheem Sterling, Marcus Rashford. Rashford's for England, Rashford is consistent. Bukayo Saka, who Southgate loves. Phil Foden, Tammy, who's doing well in Italy. Here's the two I argue. Jack Grealish, who has done literally nothing and sat on the bench recently for City.
Yeah.
And Harry Kane, who does he have a goal yet this year? One goal this year.
1 goal in 10 games. Yeah. Or 11 now. I don't remember if he scored this week, but yeah.
Well, to defend Gareth Southgate real quick, what other striker options does he have?
Ollie Watkins.
Honestly, that might be a better choice at this point. Like, or Danny Ings, throw somebody out there, but no, to me, it just it doesn't seem reasonable.
It seems political. I mean, it seems political, and it seems like you chase after big names because that's what you think appeases like the fan base and stuff is seeing the big names out there, the Harry Kanes and whatnot, and it would cause more like controversy to leave off a Harry Kane than it would be to call up a 20-year-old instead of him or something. I don't know, man. Like all of it kind of pisses me off, but circling kind of just back to the Callum Hudson-Odoi thing, like people think he's a punk for kind of snubbing the team a little bit. And I look at it as if a dude values his time and is like, no, I get better competition training with my team back home And I want to impress Thomas Tuchel in training every single day instead of fucking around and like practicing with the U21s team. He considers it underneath him, and I don't blame him. And I think that's fine. I think he's at a level, he's at an elite level where he's playing at a super high level, and he wants to do what's right for his career today. Might not be the best like career move from an England national perspective, but I don't hate it. I really don't. And I think we're all in charge of our careers in life. Like we're all in charge of our personal brands and our careers. You manage those relationships direct, face to face, people to people. And I think he's doing a good job with it. So I don't hate the move. I kind of like it. And I also like a little bit of cockiness in people in sports. So I like a little bit of swagger. So I support Hudson-Odoi in that move.
Yeah, I think you hit it directly. I mean, Parks, you and I were essentially brothers. If you ever see the two of us together with a beard and a hat on, you can't tell the two apart. Like it's one of those things. Like he's proven himself, and I think that's the biggest thing to Gareth Southgate is, he wants the big names because he has to appease everybody. Well, that's also why you lost the Euros, because you had to appease everybody and you didn't put the best team forward. It's just one of those things where I think Cho is making the right decision. I think the way that the media is playing it off makes it sound worse than it actually is. But I mean, for people listening on the pod, we all played volleyball. And if we felt like we were the best player or even a good player above somebody else, we would take offense to that. We would want to go out and prove and everything like that. So I mean, we get it. And I'm all in favor of it. I think he's doing the right thing. I don't care what his age is, anything like that. I think you would get that out of him if he was 28 versus him being 21. You would get the same thing out of him. So I'm all in favor of it.
We talk about Cho and wanting to prove himself, and another guy in the squad who seems to really want to prove himself is Ross the Boss, Ross Barkley, the English Pirlo, or maybe Nigerian Pirlo. He's had a couple good games here in a row, got the start, and I wish I would have drank for every time they mentioned, Tuchel mentioned he had a great week in training, because it seemed like it was about every time he touched the ball. Ross had a good game this week against Burnley. For the season, I certainly wouldn't put him in your top 5 midfielders. He'd maybe be that 6th. Well, how do you guys feel, again, as we come back to full strength here? Where does Ross fit in?
Why don't you kick us off, Collins?
All right. So I guess the joke here is I didn't watch the game live. I had a family event, and so I got to watch it after knowing the result. Decided to take notes on the match here. And because I knew the result, I spent a lot of time just thinking. And I was like, all right, Ross is probably going to be somebody we talk about this week. So I spent a lot of time formulating how I wanted to put this. So let me put this in layman's terms here. If I were in charge of FIFA rankings, if I made millions of dollars just to sign a number to somebody, Ross Barkley is that try-hard guy. He's the guy that you sign. Actually, you probably don't sign him. He's probably already on your team, but then you never sell him because all of his stats are average. He's not bad at anything. He's not good at anything, but his work ethic is a 99. He's the guy on the pickup basketball court who's going to give 150%, even though everybody else is just kind of joking around, chucking up threes. But no, he's going to go over the back. He's going to go for those offensive rebounds. He's going to be throwing elbows. That's Ross Barkley. I think we have a nice run of fixtures here for him to play in. I don't see him playing a part as we get into the tougher part of the schedule.
I thought that, so for me, Ross, for the first 60 minutes of the Burnley match, was man of the match. The opportunities that he created, the way that he was able to turn on the ball, create opportunities for others. He was looking for other people, getting other people involved. I thought for that first 60-ish minutes, he was man of the match. I thought he had a fantastic game. Getting his first start in God knows how long in the Premier League, especially with Chelsea, which I don't even know if that's actually ever happened. But it's almost been kind of a resurgence of the Ross Barkley that we all knew from Everton. That central midfielder that could dominate, that could hold possession, that could create. I thought that he had a fantastic game. If we're looking at where does he fit in the midfield, that's a whole different thing. I mean, me personally, I put him in front of Jorginho, but that's my own opinion. I'm just kidding. He's somebody that can provide that burst of energy. He seems like he would be a very good second half guy to kind of, if we've weathered down the midfield and we've controlled possession, we kind of weather a team down. He seems like somebody that can come in and change that whole dynamic, which he's proven to do. He's come in a lot lately, especially in that second half, and he's changed things drastically within a minute or two of being on the pitch. So I think that's a role that he shines in. I do think that if he does want like a full-time position, he'll probably have to go to a middle to low tier Premier League club, but I think he is enjoying the fact that he's getting more minutes right now.
I would love him to see him be that at Chelsea, but to your point, man, I don't think it's happening, at least in this season. Maybe in the future. But Ross, we love to talk about him. I thought his hold up play was really great. I thought his distribution off of his hold up play was even better than the hold up play. He kicked balls out to a running Reece James more than 3 times, which were just really great changes of dynamic and presence and possession, and allowed players to run in. He wasn't afraid to get on the ball. He wasn't afraid to take dribbles. A couple of times he took a little bit too many dribbles, but I prefer that than just the one-touch pass all day, every day kind of a thought process. So, man, I would love to see him succeed in Chelsea's system, but for me, it just needs to be a little bit more clinical in front of goal. The sitter he missed, everyone saw pictures of it. Everyone saw the highlights. At the level we're at, we can't do that. And then when a match ends in a 1-1 draw, it feels like a loss to us fans. I mean, it really does. We take it to heart. You see people just overreact, which I don't love either, but it's a match that you watch and you're just like, man. And Collins, I was with you, man. I watched the match after the fact. I think we all did. And
yeah.
And we all watched the match knowing the result. We still sit there and tune into 90 minutes. And I'm just wondering the whole time, like, how don't we score? Like, how don't we get a second goal here? How don't we get a third goal here? How don't we get a fourth goal? You know, it almost felt Norwich-esque a little bit. And the match in its own right was a little bit of an anomaly to me. I think any other day we're putting in 2-3 goals, and just part unfortunate, and then part Pope was on his game and he made like 3 or 4 really nice stops too. So that's a tough one for me to swallow. It's unfortunate that Barkley didn't get his start on a win. You love to see when guys like this start and then win 3-0. So it's unfortunate for him in that respect, because that kind of goes into the whole grading of a a performance. But no, I thought he did well. I thought he earned another shot at a start. And when you're kind of playing week to week, like the Ross Barkley is, we talked about it with like a Ruben Loftus-Cheek, right? You come in, you make a performance, and it's like, oh, you earned a shot to start, and then you earn another shot to start, and you earn another shot to start. So I think Ross did that. And as we're talking about trends in players, Kai Havertz might be a little bit on the downslope, Ross Barkley's a little bit on the upslope. So at some point those converge, and I think good things from Ross are in the future. So we love to talk about him. We love to praise him. We're a touch biased, but hey, we only grade what we see. So we would be shitting on him too if he absolutely didn't come to play, but he did. So love me some Ross.
Yeah, I think Matt, you pegged it perfectly. He's a guy who can come on and change the game as a sub. We saw that early in his years with Chelsea. I think it was 2018 under Sarri. I think he had like 3 goals in 5 matches or something crazy. Because Matt, I remember sitting at Highbury next to you and deciding whether I wanted to order a Ross Barkley jersey or another beer, and I decided on another beer. But
hey, honestly, either option I would not have been insulted by.
Yeah, I think I was better off with the beer. No, but what happened in that season, Ross was playing so well because he was coming on as a sub. Sarri was using him perfectly. Sarri doesn't get a lot of praise for that, but don't get a lot of praise for anything. But that was certainly one of them, is that he utilized Ross correctly. And then all of a sudden, Ross started making the starting 11, and the league figured him out. And that's what I worry. I don't so much worry about it now. I do worry that he's going to start getting occasional starts, and the league is going to figure him out. But I think, Matt, as long as we're using him like you said as a sub, coming on to bring energy, perfect. Do it. All right. So the last thing I think we need to get into, Matt's topic of the day. Really need to make a drinking game out of this. Either that or a sponsored segment, listener. Shifted away from shitting on Arsenal to Matt shitting on Jorginho. Matt, what do you got for us this week?
I didn't see much out of Jorginho. I really didn't. I saw from him the same thing that I saw of Michael Bradley with the U.S. men's national team. I saw a lot of one-touch back passes, square passes, kind of trying to dictate where the ball would go, kind of pointing. I didn't feel that he had the influence on the game that a lot of people have come to see of him. It felt like a very flat game for me out of him. I thought that we had more options out of N'Golo Kante, which I think we would all agree. We trust N'Golo Kante in defense more than Jorginho. I didn't see the level of Jorginho being like that maestro, that Pirlo, that Iniesta, the Xavi. Like I didn't see that out of him like he's known to be. And I think that was a little bit offsetting. It seemed like everything was just a side pass, a one-touch back pass. I didn't see a lot of him opening up the play compared to what he's done before in previous matches. So from my standpoint, I was a little disappointed with him. Granted, I was disappointed with other people, aka Kai. He did score a goal, but it wasn't his best. But it's just one of those things. He probably had an off game from my perspective. I don't think it's anything to hold against him. I just would have expected a little bit more out of him against a Burnley team that was suspect in the midfield.
Okay, so I've been thinking about this because inevitably Jorginho comes up in every pod. I feel like you treat Jorginho as a number 10. I feel like that's where the disconnect is. He's not a number 10. He's a number 6. He's the holding midfielder. His job is not to necessarily create all the offense. His job is to be an Alex Smith with the Chiefs and be the game manager. He is the link between the defense and the midfield and occasionally the forwards. His job is not necessarily to go forward with every single ball into the attack. His job is to facilitate. His job is to spread wide. His job is to pass back when needed. His job is to direct. So, yes, he did do a lot of that this weekend with Burnley. But that's his job. That's his role. And he does a great job at it.
So how does somebody like that become the UEFA Player of the Year when all he has to do is square pass and back pass in the midfield?
By winning every trophy there is available and being
By the teams that he is on, winning those. Not him.
He's not just on the team. He's not Ross Barkley. He is he was the captain of the Italian national team.
Oh, stop.
He's the vice captain of Chelsea.
Good Lord.
He is a leader in both.
Chiellini should have been the captain. We all know Chiellini is the captain. We all know that for the Italian national team.
We all know that? I can't name more than 4 Italians. Chiellini's one of them. I'll give you that.
Collins, let's be honest. Actually, Parks, you too. When we played volleyball, were the captains the best players? No, they were just the ones that probably understood the rules the best. And that was it. I could go talk to the officials and not get carded.
Yeah, but were they starters? Were they on the pitch? Were they on the field? Were they on the court consistently?
Of course. However, Jorginho did not have his best game against Burnley. He did not. Like I watched the game too. And if I look at him versus Conte, who do I want more in attack, or who is more involved in the attack? Conte. Who is more involved in the defense? Also Conte. Conte does everything, and I love Conte, and I think he is a far superior player than Jorginho in most aspects of the game, but he definitely outshines him, man. And I don't know exactly what Jorginho's role is. I think some of it is play calling. I think some of it is I'm here, you're there, you're there, you're there. We're gonna go bang, 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 bang. And I think some of that gets overlooked by me and others. And so he serves a really good role. I know the penalty taker role gets definitely overlooked as like, oh, well, that's an easy job. I don't think it's an easy job. I think it's hard to take penalties. I think it's hard to be the guy that you look to and it's like, oh, you're scoring for sure. You have to score. Like there's no other alternative than to score. So I think that's a hard job. I think being the captain's a hard job at times. You're managing your team, your players, the demeanor, the energy, the prowess, the tact, the whatever, right? Like your team captain is a hard job to play as well. That doesn't make him the best player on the pitch. And I think this game in an isolated incident wasn't his best game. I think there's been other games where his presence on the offensive and defensive side of the pitches have been felt a lot more. However, he had a wonder strike that got saved in this Burnley match that looked goal bound, and had it not been blocked, would have been one of probably his best goal ever. That would have been cool to see.
And one of his only goals, not from the penalty spot.
Exactly, but it was a ridiculous strike nonetheless. So
it was.
I see really great moments from him, and I don't think he's the people who say he's shit. I don't listen to, because I think he's great on a great team, and he's great on a great team. Sometimes he's not the best contributor. Sometimes he's not the best player on the pitch. and that's okay because he played for Chelsea. We have the best of the best, and you're not always going to be that best player on the pitch, and that's okay too. Sometimes the intangibles are more important. So, but I call a spade a spade. I don't think it was his best game. I agree with Matt. In an isolated incident, I agree with Matt. I do.
I was going to say, be very specific about what you agree with me on.
So Matt, the big thing that you get on Jorginho on, besides the sideway passes, so I'm not going to bring passing stats into this because we all know Jorginho is one of the top passers in the league. But his defense, care to guess where he ranks among Chelsea midfielders in tackles and interceptions?
When he gets to the ball and not blown past, he's probably in the top 10.
Second in both, behind Kovacic, ahead of N'Golo Kante.
Well, Kante has also been injured, and Kovacic is now injured. But
Jorginho has played 3 more matches than Kante in the league. And he has double the amount of tackles, 1.5 times the amount of the interceptions. So, but I said this, it was either last week or 2 weeks ago. If you take Jorginho's stats, you take off his name and you put someone else's name on there, guarantee you do not hate him as a player. And I'm going to stand by that.
I think that's fair. I think for me, it's down to the fact of like how he plays. Where, yeah, he'll throw in a tackle or two. So one of my biggest gripes with Jorginho is whenever he's under pressure, like if we're trying to pass out of the back, whenever he's under pressure, he'll look for the foul just to try and get out of it. He doesn't try and clear anything out or anything like that. He looks for the foul. And as he's going back towards Mendy, he's going back towards goal and he just looks for the foul. Why? It's because he knew that he didn't have a good touch or something like that, but he's just trying to draw it. From my standpoint, I don't like it when attackers do it. I don't like it when defenders do it. You're essentially flopping. You're looking for the contact. I don't like it. No, you made a mistake. Go fix it instead of just, oh, somebody touched my shoulder, so I'm just going to flop. That's the part that I absolutely despise about his game. You made a mistake. Okay, sprint your ass back. Go make up for it. Go defend. Do what you have to do. He doesn't. That's what annoys me to probably the utmost degree about Jorginho. And the fact that he was UEFA Player of the Year when he wasn't even the midfielder of the year. So that's a whole different dynamic. But
so do you think that is more him as a player, or is that his playing style of his nationality, where he grew up in, where he came up in as a player? Because I think that's just a very Italian thing. I think watching.
Look at Chiellini.
Chiellini's a center back.
But I'm saying you look at
any Italian midfielder or attacker, it's the same thing.
But the thing is, if you look at the Italian side, they pride defense. They do.
Yeah, we've talked about it on this pod before.
Jorginho, not so much.
Jorginho statistically was their best defender at the Euros. Statistically had the most tackles. Statistically had the most interceptions.
And he probably statistically had the best passing rating because he was passing back to Chiellini and Bonucci.
Exactly. So he's UEFA Player of the Year. He does it all.
But stats aren't everything. Stats aren't everything. Stats can tell you a story, and then when you watch the game, without those stats, looking at you square in the face, it might tell a different story. And I think that's all Matt's saying is Matt's much more of the eye test kind of I evaluate what I see. And is that perfect? No, it's not. But Collins, you're more of the, I'm going to take a look at the stats a little bit and see what's happening behind the scenes. Also, is that perfect? No, it's not. So somewhere in the middle is what makes the best player. And unfortunately, I think the way people vote is more stat based than eye test based on a lot of things in a lot of sports, which to me is unfortunate because impact is often felt more so than the stats show up. That's the only statement I can make about it is your impact on the pitch and what you mean to the team isn't always going to show up. So Jorginho is a great player and he deserves to be considered in that like S tier class of player, but is he the player of the year? Like probably not. Was he Chelsea's best player last year? Probably not. Was he Italy's best player last year? Like, probably not. And does being in both conversations make you the player of the year? Oh, maybe I guess so, but I don't know, man. He's a tough one to figure out for me, but I think he's a great player.
It provides fodder for the pod, so
Yeah.
we'll leave it at that.
It provides a running segment, right, Matt?
Yeah.
No, I think you're spot on. Like Parker, I think you hit it on the head. I'm definitely very eye test. Like I look at all of the mannerisms of the players. Like that's something that I notice right away. Collins, you are very stat driven. I know how much you love your stats. And we just have a hard time finding that common ground between what I see versus what you see. And I think Jorginho falls right into the middle of that. He is that kind of anomaly that brings that fire between you and I about Jorginho. And we just have our opinions, and we see it. I see it one way, you see it another, and it's just one of those things where it just kind of is what it is.
We will probably never agree, and this will be again 2 years from now, episode 150 will still be something that we spend 15 minutes a week on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not going to budge and you're not going to budge.
We'll wrap up here. I think we're maybe a little over an hour. So a couple quick points we'll cheers to. Number one, Trev Chalobah, new 5-year contract. So at least we're going to have one defender next year. So for first cheers goes to Trev.
Hey, cheers, Trev.
Cheers.
Well deserved, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. If they make a movie out of his career, it'd be well worth it. Real nothing to something. Point number two, Antonio Conte. Now at Spurs, Mr. At Chelsea winning is expected, at Tottenham winning is a hope. He is now the manager of Tottenham. And they drew this weekend, so cheers to that.
Amen.
Oh, I'm going to have to edit this. I asked for suggestions this week. Parker, your brother, Connor, commented. He wants to know real quick who everyone's favorite player is. And I'm going to add a caveat to it because I feel like we're all going to go in one direction. You cannot say John Terry, Frank, or Didier.
Oof.
I wasn't going to say either of those guys anyway. Even though Didier was probably the guy that brought me to the club, I will stake my my flag into Petr Cech, because often overlooked in that run, Cech was like the most stable person behind the sticks, man. He was just an incredible influence, and we often talk about the 2012 Champions League final, Drogba scoring that goal. What a moment! What an incredible thing! We're going to extra time. Drogba concedes penalty. Cech, what's he do? Steps up, makes the big moment, and like he's been there before 1,000 times, man, makes the big save. And he's just one of those guys that always stepped up, and he kept clean sheets when you didn't think he was going to keep clean sheets. He was a staple. I never saw him play without headgear. I only know him as Petr Cech with the headgear, and he was just the consistent part of whenever squad rotations happened. He was always the consistent part. So big reason why I'm a Chelsea fan is Petr Cech. Collins?
We'll
Collins,
give you
go
a
ahead.
second.
I'll come back.
Luckily, your brother posted this yesterday, so it gave me some time to think about it, and I'm glad I did because I could go really anywhere with this. I like Nicholas Anelka when he was here. I like Juan Mata. I love Branislav Ivanovic, Yuri Zhirkov. Man, there's so many great names, but ultimately, the guy who really caught my eye when I first started watching the Premier League was Joe Cole. Guy was literally the English Ronaldinho. Could dribble like none other, attack the goal. Man, he was fun to watch. And I'm sad that he had to end his career elsewhere. But definitely my favorite player, Chelsea player of all time.
So I'm gonna have to go a little bit more modern. I kind of was a little bit late to the Chelsea team, as my cohorts were a little bit earlier than I was. For me, just kind of watching it and just starting to get into it, it has to be Hazard. I got into it a little bit later than Parker and Collins, but as soon as I remember Collins texting me like, "Hey, we just signed Hazard," I'm like, "Sweet, who is that?" And then all of a sudden, that's where everything kind of fell into place, and I'm just like, okay, now I'll watch it and things like that. I can watch it weekly, and just seeing the stuff that he would do, it was ridiculous. I remember him going up against 4 Arsenal players, or at least 4 or 5, and just absolutely destroying them with ease. And I remember specifically, he dropped Francis Coquelin on his ass, and I hated him with a passion. And he just dropped him. I was so happy watching that. But for me, it was Hazard. He brought my love to Chelsea to another level, and that's brought me to the point that I'm at today, where it's drop everything. There's a Chelsea game that's on, like, I gotta watch it. Doesn't matter what's going on, I have to watch it. So that's the one for me.
Special shout out to the human victory cigar, who was John Obi Mikel. During our run, John Obi Mikel would get subbed on in the 65th minute, and you knew at that moment the game was locked down. 1-0 up. John Obi came on, and we went into defensive shell mode, and good luck to our opponents. He was one of those guys that was just a fan favorite that you just love to cheer for. He kind of reminds me like of Bobby Portis for the Milwaukee Bucks, who you just love to just chant his name. He just Bobby. It was just John Obi, man. It was just all day. You loved him. You wanted to cheer for him, and you cheer for him to shoot every time he gets the ball in the opposing half, right? So special shout out to John Obi.
I want to continue this topic next week. It's an international break. I plan on watching 0 international football. Let's just talk about old Chelsea. Well, it's not old, man, but old for us.
Yeah, Chelsea memories. I like it.
Exactly.
So real quick, does Jorginho become the new John Obi Mikel?
That's an awful question. And on that terrible note,
no. What are you?
No. Back passes, controlling the game, real simple.
John Obi is defense wins championships.
Right.
Well, according to the stats, Jorginho is right where he needs to be. So,
you know what? I'm gonna do some research during the week. We'll come back to it.
Collins is gonna come back, guns ablazing.
Oh yeah, he's coming back with
unless they are the same player, then we're not.
He's coming back. He's coming back with a gun to a knife fight.
All right. So thank you, Connor.
2v1.
Thank you, Connor, for that question. And as always, listener, if you have any questions you want us to answer on the pod, any topics you want us to discuss, feel free to hit us up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at FlagDownPod. You can reach us directly, each of us directly. You can reach me at Comiskey North on Twitter. You can reach Parker at DJ Parkour. Matt doesn't check his Twitter, so don't bother with him. You can send it to FlagDownPod for him. If you listen to us and you'd like to keep listening to us, or if it's your first time listening and you like what you hear, you can find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, basically anywhere you get your podcasts. Now Facebook as well. Again, we are the Flag Stays Down podcast.
Meta.
Yeah, sorry, Meta.
Metapod.
Meta world peace. All right. All right. On that note, just like Callum, Hudson-Odoi, I'm gonna go drink a beer, and see you guys next week.
Wow.
Sounds good. Cheers.
Silky transition out. Later, boys.